Hello, family. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're enjoying life and staying healthy. You see this man on the big screen. His name is Jeffrey Jackson. He's a governing body member within a Jehovah's Witness organization. The governing body teaches Jehovah's Witnesses how they should worship God and hate their family and friends who leave the organization. In this latest video on JW.org, Mr. Jackson speaks about the love of Jesus and how Jehovah's Witnesses should imitate his love. But we know Jehovah's Witnesses are far from imitating the love of Jesus, especially when it comes to shunning family and friends. So before we dive into how the governing body have taught Jehovah's Witnesses to hate their family and friends, listen to Mr. Jackson speak on Jesus' love. Check it out.
It's true, isn't it, that love is a feeling, but it's proved by actions. So this morning we're considering how our Lord Jesus Christ proved his love by means of his actions. Our comments highlight the fact that Jesus did everything within his power to help others whenever he could. Well, we can learn from that, can't we, by doing everything we can to help others onto the path to life and to help them to learn about Jehovah and Jesus. But when we meditate on the example of Jesus, what other various ways do we see that Jesus showed true love, the Christian love that we should be imitating, the love that reflects the love of Jehovah God? Well, let's think for a few moments about the various things that prove Jesus' love. The first one, we could say that he showed that he was impartial. Yes, he didn't put people in boxes, he didn't categorize them, but he viewed them as individuals.
But yeah, Mr. Jackson, you teach Jehovah's Witnesses to be partial, prejudiced, and biased by cutting off family and friends who do not want to practice your religion.
Now, it's true in Matthew chapter 11, verse 19, Jesus is accused there of being the friend of tax collectors and sinners. And it's true that he associated with many of these people, wanting to help them. But at the same time, we notice that Jesus was willing to have a meal with a wealthy Pharisee. So that showed us that Jesus didn't just categorize people and say, well, all wealthy people are bad, all poor people are good, but rather he looked at them as individuals. Well, isn't that a good lesson for us? Not to categorize people by their social status or their race or background,
Or even if they want to change their religion, right?
but rather to view them as ones that God loves and wants to get to know him. So that's one way that we could think about how Jesus displayed true love.
Although Mr. Jackson talked about Jesus showing love to everyone, notice how this governing body's system is just the opposite. In fact, he's encouraging hatred toward family and friends, those who leave the organization.
Well, this presents a challenge to each of us when it is a beloved friend or relative who is disfellowshipped. Will we be submissive and yield to the judgment of the elders who handle the matter? So what is the very best thing we can do for those who are disfellowshipped? We already read it in 1 Corinthians 5:11. Stop keeping company with them.
Jesus is accused there of being the friend of tax collectors and sinners. And it's true that he associated with many of these people,
Not even eating with them.
We notice that Jesus was willing to have a meal with a wealthy Pharisee.
So Jesus associated with sinners and even ate with them. And yet, the organization that is Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body's organization, says not to eat and associate with family and friends who choose to worship God in a different way.
And speaking of the same sort of person, the Apostle John wrote it, 2 John 10, do not receive him into your homes or say a greeting to him. Now, our loyalty is on the line, not to the disfellowship person, but to God, who is watching to see whether we will abide by his command not to have contact with those who are disfellowshipped. Some of Jehovah's people may think this is too drastic, and that their keeping in contact with the disfellowshipped friend or relative is a kindness. But they could not be more wrong about that. You see, it may salve their own feelings, but they would be doing the worst possible thing for the disfellowship person.
This is absolutely insane. Cut off family and friends just because they no longer want to be a Jehovah's Witness. That's crazy. Now check this out.
My name is Gabriella. Ben and I have always enjoyed attending the meetings. But lately, it's been difficult. Something was missing. Our son. It was like watching a movie of someone else's family. I couldn't believe this was happening to us.
The son no longer wants to be a Jehovah's Witness, but he's not saying he no longer wants to be a son to his parents. He just don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness.
Our son Levi was no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Though he is no longer a Jehovah's Witness, but he's still your son. He should still be able to communicate with you, and you communicate with him.
The elders and friends in the congregation were so supportive and understanding. Many of them watched Levi grow up, give his first talk, get baptized. Like we failed him somehow. I kept wondering how he was doing. Was he okay? Then, as hard as the past few weeks had been, it just got harder. I knew what the Bible said about quit mixing in company with anyone who is not living according to Christian standards.
So she didn't even pick the phone up. She viewed him as no longer being her son because he was no longer a Jehovah's Witness. That is sad, y'all. Very, 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 very sad. But it all stems from their leaders, the governing body. They're the ones who tell Jehovah's Witnesses to cut off family and to cut off friends, to cut off associates, if they do not want to practice the Jehovah's Witness way. So what do you think? Are Jehovah's Witnesses imitating Jesus' love? Leave a comment. Thank you again for visiting my channel. Remember, always enjoy your freedom and stay healthy.